And we are all right. All right, all right.
There it is.
All right,
All
all
right, all
right.
right.
All right, all right. Going live.
All right. So this is my boy's Kyle station. For those of you who haven't tuned in yet,
Mm-hmm.
letting y'all know what the deal is. So we had a great conversation with Jacqueline
Definitely.
Davis talking about healthy lifestyles, healthy habits. For
Mm-hmm.
those of you who saw the feed, like holistic health we talked about in depth. Y'all need to check it out. It's on the Grand Rising Collective channel. Subscribe to it if you like it. Share it, subscribe, because these are the conversations that we're having. So
yeah. So really, we're on my YouTube live. So just to clarify that, not on the FB live. So, yeah.
Got it. And we're on Kyle's YouTube live, which you already explained, which you heard.
Yes, sir.
So but the actual discussion took place on the Grand Rising Collective.
Right.
I need y'all to check it out. It's very informative. Give it a chance.
Definitely.
Check it out. Like it. Again, share it. You never, people, family, and friends might, find it very interesting and informing. And subscribe. We got a lot more stuff coming your way. And it's definitely going to be a part 2. So look for a part 2. So anyway, in the discussion, there was some topics that I wanted to discuss that was on the flyer that we weren't able to cover in that discussion due to the sake of time. We only have a certain amount of time that we can get that in. So some of the topics that Cal and I are going to discuss right now is going to cover the healthcare velvet rope, COVID-19, more facts about it as more information becomes available and validated and confirmed, just to keep us informed. We kind of touched on it a little in the discussion earlier, but we're going to go on more in depth now. Groupthink, and then the power of faith. We kind of touched on spirituality in the discussion as well, but we're going to use this time to really go into it live.
Yeah.
That's where we at. So, Kyle, I'm going to get into the actual facts of COVID. Just jump into that immediately.
Yes, sir.
As a matter of fact, hey, I'm going to do this. For those who are tuning in, if you want to see the article and read it yourself, okay, hold on. Private here. Well, it's a private chat, so I'm not sure if they're gonna be able to see this, Kyle.
But
I don't know if you can.
Well, no, it goes into the live stream. Like whatever we chat here, it goes into the stream.
All right, so let me try and get on that. So pretty much as we talk about it, I'll make a copy of it. I'm gonna read this thing, Kyle, and then we'll elaborate more on it.
All right.
Part of the reason the coronavirus is so frightening is its invisibility. I don't know if you saw this, but on the news feed, as a matter of fact, they have images of the image that they use that kind of how can I put it? They say it looks like a coronavirus. It's a microscopic thing blown up, so it looks like a ball with things coming out of it.
I don't know if I've really seen that. Online. I don't know if I've seen that image.
All right, hold on. Maybe I'll share my screen. That'll work. All right, hold on, Cal. Because they have it, coronavirus image. Coronavirus image. It looks like a round. They have it like they showed a picture of the city, right? And here it is. All right, here we go. Yep. Boom, boom, boom.
Okay. Can you share it?
So I'm gonna share my screen.
Yeah, share it.
All right, real quick. Let me share screen. Application window. All right. So it's gonna look weird though. It's gonna look weird. All right, Chrome tab. Maybe Chrome tab. There we go. Here we go. Oh, this is nice. All right, can you see it? No?
I'm gonna
add. All right, here we go.
Can you add it?
That's what I'm gonna do. That's what I'm trying to do now. Well, can you add it? Because you.
There it is.
All right, that right there.
Mm-hmm.
So they had this image, and there are very other images, but they're very informed. But they had this image, like if picture like you downtown, taking a landscape picture downtown, you on the corner, and you just taking a picture of, the building across from you in the streets and the cars. So they had these little things, like big though,
wow.
like the size of at different sizes though, like 3 feet big, 4 feet big, 2 feet big, whatever. Spotted around that image. Like, I should find that image. And that. But they were like, if you could basically what they were saying is if you could actually see the virus when you walk outside, would you still go outside? So that's basically what it was doing.
I mean, it's like
close it out now, Kyle. We'll close it out.
Yeah, that's an interesting statement because it's just interesting. Like, if you see the virus, like, would you go outside? Like, I get what they're going with it. I mean, the virus. I mean, it's a virus. I mean, that's what we have to realize. Corona or not, it's a virus. You can't keep it contained in one area and the virus is contained. Like, it seeps out. Like, you have to, like Jacqueline was saying, you have to be in the right vibration in order for it to not attach itself and grow in your body. You have to have the right type of body that kills off viruses. If you're constantly eating junk, because I don't like to call it junk food, because either junk or it's food. So I got that from Dick Gregory. Dick Gregory talked about that. I mean, think about it. That's oxymoron, junk food. Food is supposed to nourish. So if food is supposed to nourish, how can it be junk?
It's an oxymoron.
So it's either it's junk or it's food. So we consume junk, and then virus is like, oh, hey, happy, joy. Here's a nice little playground for me to grow my family. You know what I'm saying? Like that's what it's trying to do. It's trying to replicate itself. So if you create an environment that's dirty where it can replicate itself, then if you create an acidic environment, it's going to replicate. If you create a more alkaline, more carbon-based environment, it's going to populate less or fight it better.
I think some people, we have our own perception on things, right? So some people, I don't think, make the connection that, their bodies is in that condition, if that makes any sense.
Yeah.
So people don't make that. That's why they're panicking. They're like, listen, I jog, but they don't realize, you jog, but you also feed yourself on this stuff that's not good for you. Yeah, you jog, but you don't get enough rest. Yeah, you jog, but how much water did you drink the past few days? Yeah, you jog, but what's the last fruit you ate? Or what's the last vegetable that you had besides Chinese food and broccoli? You know what I mean?
So, it has a lot of sodium in it. It has a lot of sodium and MSG and a lot of food additives in it. So it's healthier than some things, but then it's not, because all the additives they put onto it.
Yeah. And here's another point. That's a very good point. I think to a lot of people who have relatives that are probably affected by the coronavirus, because you heard the bus driver. Did you see that in the news? A bus driver was driving, and some woman was coughing on the bus. And he complained about it, and he died like a few days later.
Nah, I didn't hear about that.
There's so much stuff I gotta send you in the news feed.
Yeah, man. Yeah, because again, it's like, okay, was this brother was he a smoker? I mean, I'm not to say, again, man, my condolences to his family, him and his family, like, condolences. But like, what other issues? What was he eating? What was he drinking? Like, see, it's not just death. It's just like that, and that's what they're not. They're just reporting deaths. They're not reporting people who are getting who are fighting it and healing. Like DJ Jazzy Jeff got it. He feels like he got it. DJ Jazzy Jeff felt like he had the corona because he said he was out of it. You know what I'm saying? But he fought it. He said his wife gave him some stuff and kept being attentive to him, and he fought it.
Oh, so I didn't hear the latest on that. So he did fight it. So he's fine now?
Yeah, he's good. Like, I mean, he's still not 100%, but he's much better than he was.
Okay, I didn't know. Yeah. I knew he had it. I didn't know.
He said he was out for about a week or two, like just trying to fight it off and whatnot.
Okay. All right. I got this. I got it here. I'm trying to figure out how I can get it to you.
Yeah.
Facebook Live, if I could do it that way. Oh no, I got this open, so I'm gonna send it to you that way. I wish I could send it to you via Gmail. Hold on. Detroit bus driver dies of COVID-19 after ranting about passenger who openly coughed.
Right, but I'm
right. You don't
like,
know. They don't know.
yeah, like on you time. See, there's too many gaps in that story. Like, and we don't need to know every exact detail, but we need to know more detail than that. He coughed and then he got it, filed it. Like, what happened? Like, what happened in between those 5 days?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
What, like Jacqueline was saying earlier, family, what happened? What was this brother doing, or what type of environment was he in prior to those 5 days? Last month, 2 months ago, for 3 months, you know what I'm saying? Like, that affects you.
I just sent it to you to your Gmail account.
Okay.
But yeah, you're right.
You know what I'm saying? It's like,
So basically, just saying everybody must subscribe to the fact that if you come down with this coronavirus, it's because it's your fault. You haven't been taking care of your body. You haven't been eating right. So that's basically what you're telling everybody. Trying to say it's my fault because of this virus. I'm
yeah, I'm trying to say we have more control than we think. But yeah, part of it is our fault in the sense of our bodies not being able to handle this stuff. And it's not our fault, like, oh, I'm blaming you, or we have to blame ourselves, but we do have to take accountability. You know what I'm saying? Viruses only are able to multiply in acidic bodies.
Mm-hmm.
We have to take more vigilance on our health. That's what I'm saying. Mm-hmm. Instead of trying to blame folks, which I'm not, because I'm doing the same thing. I'm sure that I'm staying off the dairy, that I'm staying off the fried foods. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm not saying you can't eat it at all, but people thinking like this is the time to be like, yeah, I'm gonna eat fried chicken every day because I'm in the house. Like I'm going through stress. I need to eat my fried chicken every day. Mm-hmm. That's a bad move, because the more that you eat, the less your body has more energy to fight off a virus. It's trying to digest your food. Mm-hmm. It spends more energy digesting your food than in fighting the virus, then that's a problem. That's a potential problem. But the less it spends on digesting your food, and the food gives it more energy to function, it's gonna say, well, I'm gonna digest this food, these vegetables that I took in, but the same amount of energy that I took from digesting these vegetables, it left me some good enzymes to fight off this virus too. You know what I'm saying? It's like, yeah, man, it makes sense only because I've been reading and studying this stuff for years. And even still, some stuff does not make sense to me as far as my aptitude to be able to like really understand what's happening. But that part of it, I do know, you know, from reading and listening and studying and going back and doing my research. Like, you got to give your body a chance to fight off diseases. But if you're constantly feeding it, if you're constantly putting stuff in your mouth, then it's like, well, I would have energy to do this thing, but I got to do this over here first. You know what I'm saying? The body's holistic. It's not like while you're chewing this, it's doing other things too, but that's less energy it has for other stuff.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
That makes sense. You can't get around that. There's no way of getting around it. That's how body works, man. So
I don't care how you know, holier than thou or, you know, vegan you are. That's like Jacqueline said, there's certain laws of nature that you can't get around. Mm-hmm. Neither you, me, anyone, like Trump too. Like, you just can't get around it. Like,
gotcha. Yo, Kyle, I'm trying to get to your live on Facebook, and I can't get to it because I want to post the link to the article, unless you want to post it.
I'll post it.
All right. So in the
the Detroit bus driver or the
Nah, I mean you can just put the Detroit bus driver up in there. They can do a Google search on that. But I mean the COVID-19, what we're talking about. The how long does coronavirus live in the air? Here's what we here's what we know. I have it at
Yeah.
the top of the, in the top part of the document that I sent you. I have the link
Okay. Hold
from
on one second.
HuffPost.com because I can't see the.
You said where is it now? You said what now?
Oh, here are the two. I got it. Oh, awesome, awesome. Global News. There you go. You got it. No, Global News, bus driver. Yeah, in the
Yeah,
top part of the
you want me to
page.
show it?
Now you can post it up there so they'll know. They can refer to the article themselves.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
that's the bus driver one. The other one, where's how long coronavirus lives in the air? Can you post that one?
Oh, that one. Okay. I see what you're saying.
I like this, man. That's pretty good.
Yeah.
How'd you do that?
That just I got the skills, man. You know what I'm saying? I got those skills, man. You just thought, brothers thought, I got the right hand, and you know what I'm saying? Then I hit him with the left hand, bam, like that's how I go. But no.
Okay, good. Take vitamin D, the most important vitamin right now. Hey, thanks, D.
Mm-hmm.
Did you see that?
Yeah, I see. Oh, yeah, I do see. Yes, yes.
So
nice. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, man, chime in, y'all. We don't want this to be this is a one-to-one conversation. So
right.
I was told, and from what I heard, I know you and Jacqueline, and I think in the other conversations that we had, all the vitamins are essential. But I remember we were emphasizing, particularly what you were sharing with me, that I took more was vitamin C, oranges, right? That's the vitamin C, and then the sun rays gives you the healthy nutrition.
Yeah.
Vitamin D. What? Let's tap into that. Vitamin D. What nutrients can you share with us, Kyle? And D, Kyle might be able to drop some stuff for both of us on there. How is vitamin D? Let me ask you: is vitamin C more beneficial for us during this coronavirus than vitamin D? Or is it the opposite, or they're both the same?
Tell me, you asking me?
Yeah. Or I think that D. Which is it the same? Is it both of y'all? Oh.
Okay. Oh yeah. I mean, they're both vital. I mean, one helps the other. I mean, because they work in tangents. You know what I'm saying? It's like these vitamins go to different parts of our bodies and help certain organs, tissue to function better. But they work in tangent. They work together. So you can't have one without the other. You know what I'm saying? You can have, if you have too much of vitamin D or too much of vitamin C, it throws the body off. It's out of balance. So it's all about balance. Dr. Africa talked about how vitamins is just a short form of called vital minerals, because our body needs minerals. That's what it's really trying to get, is the minerals, and the vital minerals is the vitamin. So vital mineral C, vital mineral D, vital mineral A, vital mineral K. It's like it all goes to certain functions to help our body to regulate itself, so it can be in homeostasis. Yeah, homeostasis. So yeah.
All right, so you just showed me a book that talked about milk. Now, back in the days, milk was promoted as vitamin D, right? Milk has vitamin D. It's good for the bones, right? You're supposed to drink milk. Right. It's good for your bones, and it's the vitamin D. Hold on. D says vitamin D is an immunity booster. Most is produced by the sun.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. Yep. With vitamin C, that's how they complement each other. Okay, so milk. Was it promoted back in the day that milk had vitamin D? In addition to that, milk is good for your bones and all that other stuff too?
Yeah, it was. But as the book, I'm going to post the book in a minute, but yeah, the book talks about how it's dangerous to the body because it has all these hormones and pus and chemicals to pasteurize it. And we're taking that stuff in. I mean, we're the only mammals that drink other mammals' milk, if you just want to be real, We're the only other animal that drinks another animal's milk. That's like a goat walking up to a cow and drinking its milk. Like, who does that?
Okay.
The
reason why I asked is because, like I said, growing up, I mean, because people so basically, if people can't drink milk, right, their supplement for vitamin D would be the vitamins. So go to the store. Is that what we're saying? Go to the store and get the multi minerals or the vitamins, vitamin D, as opposed to drinking milk, which is what people have grew up on doing as a part of that reprogramming and retraining of our mind to eat healthy. Is that the suggestion?
Yeah, I think that's what D is saying, and I agree. Yeah, it's not vitamin D. You need the other um, trace minerals to go along with that, like you said in the post, magnesium, potassium, right? Like those are those help the body to absorb. Like in the book, it talked about how in order for the body to absorb calcium, which is why we're supposedly drinking milk, your body needs magnesium in order to absorb it. Now, cow's milk has a lot of vitamin D. Has a lot of calcium, but not a lot of magnesium. So that's a whack source for your vitamin D. What does have more vitamin D, what does have calcium and magnesium for your body to absorb vitamin D, to absorb calcium is apple juice, like organic apple juice, spinach, broccoli, um, what else, man? Certain nuts like walnuts, pecans. You know what I'm saying? Right. Vitamin D3 is the best. Right, yeah, because you have the different vitamin D's, vitamin D3, vitamin D6. You know what I'm saying? You got the different types. So right, yeah, vitamin D3 is the best, to be the best one right now. I agree with that. Yeah.
So for example,
real quick too, Kaide, in reference to the book I mentioned.
All right, yeah, put that up there. So for parents, particularly who are raising children, and the quick breakfast to make is your typical cereal that we've all grown accustomed to, and having milk with our cereal.
Right.
Just to put this out there for those who may be struggling with this, especially in light of this epidemic and pandemic, the suggestion would be to drink what you said. I think you mentioned it is coconut. What milk did you mention before? Like almond milk, stuff like that. Not that milk that they're selling now, but almond milk.
Right. Well, coconut, almond milk. Some people may be allergic to, almonds and or coconut as well. They got the oat milk. They got the hemp milk. They got the pea protein milk now. Man, they got a whole bunch of. It's like what? Like a whole bunch of different ones. But the two that I typically go to are the almond and coconut because I'm not allergic to any of those or anything. And coconut is good for the good fats it has. Like coconut has like the fatty. Not the omegas, but it has the fatty acids in it that are good for the body. Almond milk is good alternative for those people who are lactose intolerant, but you still want some nutrients, in that way, in that sense. So those are typically good alternatives. Hemp milk, hemp is good. Hemp has protein in it, and again, if you're allergic to almond, coconut, hemp might be a good alternative as well. And you see here with the screen here with the milk is the deadly poison. This is the book I was referring to in reference of the guy Robert Cohen. So hopefully everyone can see that, in reference of that, right?
Yeah.
So I'll put the link in the chat. You're right, and D is saying 60% of Americans have a vitamin D deficiency. That's right. It's facts. Actually, when I went to the doctor about a year or so ago, the doctor was saying how people in New York City typically have vitamin D deficiency because we're not going out and getting a lot of sun. And plus, you got a lot of the buildings blocking the sun too. But most of us are vitamin D deficient. And that ties into why people are tired a lot of times, like it goes with the thyroid. Like it taps into the thyroid gland, and why some people aren't as energized, on a daily basis.
So the thyroid, because my mom had thyroid. So she got thyroid because she didn't have enough vitamin D?
That could play a part, yes. Especially, we do with women in their bones. They typically bones and men do. I'm guessing, this is a hypothetical guess. I'm guessing because they have to have more than the average male, man. So but again, there's no scientific fact that I can base that off of right now. But that's only hypothetical. But that's what I'm.
Gotcha. All right. So for the people, because we want to get as much information out as we can in regards to this virus that's going on, because the quarantine is going now on a month, I believe. We are now approaching, after Sunday, it'll be almost like a month and some days. Just a real quick, just yesterday, it was interesting because I heard some noise out here. You know, people started. It seems like the cabin fever is starting to reach a high. You know, divorce rates are going up. You know what I mean? All these things. So that anxiety is setting in. That, you know, whatever you want to call it, is setting in. So
Right.
best way to alleviate that is to be informed. And I think, you know, the fear that people have of going outside, which is what I led to in regards to that first. I was talking about how the coronavirus image look. You know, how it looks, and being outside. And if they knew that was outside, would they still want to go outside? So the point of this is just to get information out there. So to alleviate the ignorance and take away a lot of that anxiety and stuff. So part of the article that I read, that I shared with Kyle, that I'm going to throw out there for further discussion, I already led into it already, is part of the reason the coronavirus is so frightening is its invisibility, right? That's why we wear masks, because we don't know where it is. We can't see where it lingers and have no idea if we're coming into contact with it. And this is a study by Lindsay Holmes. She's do I have that at the bottom here? She's the person who wrote this article, and you go to the link, it'll give you her credentials as well.
And I'm pulling it up right now. So
awesome. So, you know, in addition to it, she says, sure, we're social distancing. If we're not, you better start. Obviously, people are getting that anxiety because they're social distancing. But very good, Cal. Thank you. But also, we can still encounter the virus in the air, at the grocery store, outside. So good. So there you go.
Yeah, so let me screen back a little bit. You know what I'm saying? So, oh, my bad.
Researchers and Cal and I discussed this before, where researchers have examined how long the coronavirus lasted on surfaces. So we had a little image that we put up. Plastic bags is like 3 or 4 days. In the air, it's 2 to 3 days. But then the article goes on. There you go. So I'm at the second part, that second red part now, Kyle, where it says researchers have examined how long the coronavirus lasted on surfaces.
Okay.
And they also look at how long the virus stayed in the air form in aerosolized particles. Right. So that's a contact information there. So the thing that I want to bring out and bring up for discussion for you to chime in on is what I thought was informative and yet relieving. It was the part where it says, before you panic, there's something important to note. This study was conducted in a very controlled setting. Where, you know, let me read the first. I know it's going to be long, but let me just bring that out. We'll discuss it at length. Aerosolized particles are essentially microscopic, and they form when fluids containing the virus are expelled from a person and cling to dust or moisture in the air and hang there. So that's why a lot of people wearing masks when they walk outside, wearing masks when they go to the stores, because of that. It gets into the air and it hangs there. So you don't know if you walk into it. You don't know if, as walking into it, you'll inhale it, right?
So that ties into like when people sneeze, right? Like how that's why they say, you know, sneeze. Okay.
Exactly, right? The researchers found that airborne coronavirus particles stayed floating for up to 3 hours before falling and clinging to a new surface. Right? So just hearing that 3 to 4 hours, that means somebody could have had the virus, breathed it out, or sneezed. If you're walking into a store or supermarket, right? And that person goes in, picks up the items, and walk out within an hour, and in that same area, that coronavirus could still be there. 3 hours. Which is a lot of masks, and they're saying the mask is so important. But here's a key variation to that. So don't panic. Before you panic, there's something important to note. This study was conducted in a very controlled setting.
Mm-hmm.
Likelihood of encountering the virus in this form is low for an average person. Experts have previously told Huffington Post this. The virus doesn't stay in the air enough to be a risk to people who are not physically near someone who is infected, right? And then you can read the rest of it right there. I don't have to read it because now you can read it. So for me, I'll say still take precaution, right? You don't want people like, oh, thank God. Now I don't have to wear this mask. I can go out there.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And then they contract it based on what we shared with them here. No, I'm just saying at least the mask, is somewhat of a precaution, so you don't, it takes some of that anxiety and fear. Remember we talked about fear with Jacqueline today as well. Take some of that fear away, so that way you don't have to really get to. What are your thoughts on all that, Kyle? How do you feel about that?
Yeah, take precaution. I mean, this is what they're saying. They're giving you some data. Some people who have at least some experience with viruses in general, and then with this virus in particular, take precaution. Don't be fearful. I mean, a lot of fear comes out of not knowing what you're actually going through or dealing with. So that's where a lot of the fear creeps in. It's not to say you're not going to be totally without total fear, because then you may do something that may not be wise. You know what I mean? So a little fear is good because it keeps you on your toes. But when you have when you're full of fear, then that's where the problems can happen. Or if you have just no fear in particular, just none at all, then it's like, okay, you might be kind of too cavalier about it. It's just to have fear less. Fear less. When people say I'm fearless, meaning that fear is still present, it's just you have much less of it than something that would hold you back. So again, take precaution. Take precaution. Again, control what you can control and let the rest settle. You know what I'm saying? Like, again, if it's cleaning the house, spraying down certain surfaces, washing your hands, washing your face thoroughly. If you feel like you need to wear the mask, wear it. If you feel like you don't, then don't. I mean, because again, it's you. Now, again, if you sneeze in a coffin, that's a whole nother story. Because you might not even have the virus, but you could be spreading stuff anyway. So that's just, I've always felt that way with people in general. People coughing and sneezing all over the place. That's something that even before this virus came, I was like, hey, you should cover your mouth, or like, why you sneeze into your arm, or like wash your hands. Like if you use the bathroom or you sneeze on your hands, wash your hands, like, or at least get some hand sanitizer or something. Like, these are common practices that should have already been in place, but you have some nasty people out there. And we stay in the city, we stay in Tri-Borough area, so New York City, Jersey, man, these are high density places. And fortunately, man, not everybody is clean as you like them to be.
Facts. The other thing I'm going to touch on, I don't think a lot of people are talking about this, be out of that fear. But the mask, I have a friend of mine, who's a family member, and a mother, whatever, senior type age, who has the mask on, and it's not the new mask that costs so much money with the vents in it and stuff like that. It's the regular doctor's mask, and they're finding it hard to breathe. Like when they're talking and stuff like that, it's very suffocating on some level.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? What are your thoughts on that? Because I need to wear the mask to protect myself from the stuff out there, but dag, I can't get down the block without feeling like I'm suffocating. I got to take the mask off just so I can breathe. And what can you share in regards to that?
I mean, I would say, take the mask off and breathe. You know what I mean? You got to have oxygen. Right. I'm not saying take it off fully, but take it off briefly to breathe and then put it back on, or get a better mask. You might have to get a better mask. So that way you can breathe in and out, and the carbon dioxide can leave and you can breathe in the oxygen. But yeah, I would say, just don't throw common sense out the window. I mean, like, you taking your mask off for, a few seconds is not gonna, if you're in a crowd full of people, I understand how that could be a little tricky. But if you're by yourself, breathe. You gotta breathe. I mean, what good if you pass out, and then they're gonna take the mask off anyway? You see what I'm saying? Like, Think about that. Like they're gonna take the mask off anyway. If you fall out on the floor, if you fall out on the street, you're like, what's wrong with this person? Oh, keep the mask on. We're gonna they're gonna be like, yo, they're gonna push it down a little bit and see, like, what's going on. Right. So I mean, no, that's a legit question, but it's just like, hey, take your health. Your health is your priority, but don't get, again, if you're full of fear, then it causes you to act irrational. Be rational. Okay. If you can't breathe, take it off briefly, around when no one is around, and put it back on.
Very good. See, that's a good, I like that advice right there. Get to, like, if you're in an environment or what have you, God forbid you're online waiting to purchase an item. In that case, just get that job done. Get your items there, purchase your items, and get out as fast as you can. But if you find yourself in the store and you're down an aisle or whatever the case may be, you got the mask on or what have, and that aisle is crowded, then go to a place that's not as crowded, I would think, or suggest, so that way you can take the mask off and breathe, you know what I mean? And then put it back on to get whatever items you need from that particular aisle. But I like that point you make, Cal. Find a place where it's not so crowded or what have you, where you can take the mask off and breathe, and then as you're getting back into condensed areas, then put the mask back on. There's a way to make it more comfortable. I like that suggestion. That's pretty good. All right, so the other thing that I want to bring on as we finish this article, this is the last point in this article I'm going to bring up, is something that I don't think, or maybe people are aware of. But in the same article, it says, your real concern should be focused on surfaces. And I wish we had that article, if I could send it to you. But check out our last live.
Yes.
COVID-19. You'll find it there. Where certain surfaces, this virus lingers on longer. In this case, the article is saying, say you get into an elevator, you should be more careful about touching the buttons than about breathing potentially contaminated air. So I think this is where the gloves come in, right? So if you're not wearing gloves, I think it's important. And gloves has nothing to do with, the mask. So if your gloves are on, you're not going to suffocate from gloves being on your hand. A good practice would be, they got these plastic gloves now, surgical gloves, you can get from any of these medical stores or something like that. It's like, plastic, but it feels like regular hands. It's like your regular hands. You probably can't use your iPhone because of the thumbprint, but put those gloves on. So that way, if you walk into an elevator, now you press a button, you don't know how many people was touching those buttons. And I think Jackie said this in the discussion also. One of the reasons why she wearing her mask is because she touches her face a lot. Right. Saying that? So I remember saying that. Right. So subconsciously, you may be one of those that touch your face a lot, or you scratch or whatever. That's dangerous. So a glove, with the gloves on, you won't be so quick to do that because you'll realize the gloves is on. So exercise that precaution, you know what I mean? And then one final note before you chime in, Kyle, is I saw some news feeds where people were literally sneezing on the buttons in the elevator.
So, yeah.
You seen that? Licking in the supermarket, licking the you seen that? I know that went viral.
I know. I know. I saw the guy on the train. I don't know if that was a New York train, but he licked his hand and put his hand on the pole. I didn't see the whole grocery store stuff. I remember the people. Remember, like last year, the people was taking ice cream and licking the.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? I'm like, yo, man, that was a few months back. So people just on some just want to be funny, want to be nasty. I mean, you got these type of folks out there. They got mental stuff going on. You know what I'm saying? Like, this is. It's whack. It's definitely whack. I mean, it's definitely nasty and lacks decorum. But this is what we talk. This is what we facing. You know what I'm saying? Like that's why. That's why a lot of folks, growing up was like, you can't eat over everybody's house. You know what I'm saying? You can't eat everybody's food, man. This is like old school tactics, man. Like from your elders, like. It's like, nah, you can't. Nah, I wouldn't eat that. You know what I'm saying? I don't know where that came from. Who their people? What they on? What their house look like? Like, real man. That's why them company potlucks gonna be looking a little scarce in the next few months. the company pilots, they like, yo, who made this? Oh man, you gotta laugh, fam, because it's so much people feeling so much pressure, and it's not to make light of anything, but people feel so much pressure. You gotta kind of like get a few laughs in there, but we just really we really have to just calm down and relax and just look at the facts and move accordingly. That's all we got to do, right? Mm-hmm. Control what you can control, right? Mm-hmm. Do what you need to do internally, because that's what the virus is really going in. The virus is really internal. This whole external stuff is just, it is what it's going to be. But are you good internally? Are you straight inside? I mean, the last podcast we did before the episode today with Jacqueline Davis, we were talking about, I said what's your inside game? You know what I'm saying? Like, what is your inside game looking like? Talking about your mental, like what's it looking like? Mm-hmm. If it's not the best, you need to be working on that, right? And there's people to help with that, friends, family, licensed psychologists, therapists, counselors. Like, there's people that can do this over the phone. You know what I'm saying? Like, I have a counselor, that I go to. Aside from family and friends who I can go to as well, I'm thankfully, but I do have a licensed person that I can go to if I need to. You know what I'm saying?
Got you, Kyle. Thank you so much. So the next article that I want to discuss real quick is racially equitable decisions in the area of COVID-19. Now, you had this discussion with a colleague of yours, right? Your cousin last week, in regards to what's termed as the velvet rope of healthcare. Now, unfortunately, I'm not going to get to all the topics I want to discuss today, but we're covering a good portion of it as it relates to the coronavirus anyway. I'm glad we're getting this in this hour. So the velvet rope of healthcare, what does that mean? What is that all about? What is that?
Velvet rope of healthcare. Yeah, man. So the velvet rope of healthcare, man, he really dropped the jewel in reference to that. He's a reverend in the church. Has his church family and whatnot, and he was just saying that recently had a tornado down that way, down in the Tennessee area, Nashville. And he was just saying how a lot of times natural disasters uncover unnatural disasters. Unnatural disasters meaning poverty, lack of proper food, healthcare. And he talked about the velvet rope of healthcare. And we know, and for those families who don't know the correlation, velvet rope used to mean like exclusive. Like, you can get in the club or you can't get in the club. Like, if you're not dressed a certain way or look a certain way or have a certain status, you can't get in, right? You may be dressed nice, but if you don't have enough money, you can't get in. Or you may not have enough. You may have all the money in the world, but you look like you look slobbish in your attire. You can't get in. If you're not associated with the people who normally get in, like you're not in that kind of that crowd, and they don't know you, you can't get in. So like he was saying in reference of healthcare has a velvet rope. There are certain people that don't have access to proper healthcare, whether it be medications, whether it be a licensed therapist, whether it be doctors who need to maybe do surgery of some sort. Like, they don't have that. They don't have it. Chiropractors, foot doctors, dentists, optometrists, podiatrists, cardiologists, like they don't have quality healthcare. Yeah. So them and their families suffer. And they suffer more due to maybe a natural disaster, a tornado, or a hurricane, because they didn't have it before that.
It's funny you mention that, because man, there's so much I want to add to that. So all right, so to answer your question, D, we live in the city, man. I live in Jersey. My boy Kyle let you know where he lives, right?
Yep. In the city, New York.
We city dwellers.
Yeah, we are.
Born and raised in the city, moved out to Jersey. My brother Kyle is still there. And then you said a precaution to take if you live in apartments is fill Ziploc bags and place over drains. That's interesting. We gotta look into that.
Yeah, I've never heard of that one.
Yeah, so if be so kind as to let us know I'll let Kyle know in his feed exactly, elaborate more on that, or even in this chat, please elaborate more on that. We're not familiar with that. But getting back to your point in regards to the velvet rope, I want to read this to let you, give you some insight. So, several weeks ago, American physicians started receiving reports that in Italy or their Italian colleagues were being forced to decide which of their patients would receive life-sustaining therapy for COVID-19. Across the United States, American physicians are on the brink of similar devastating choices, if they are not there already. Some states have started preparing by creating guidelines to help physicians make these choices. There's already concern that when the time comes, physicians will favor some lives over others, factoring in more than just which patients are the sickest and which ones would be most likely to survive. Now, when I had an issue with my family, particular family member in the hospital, even before this thing took place, an outbreak, you can sense that they had preconceived ideas of how to aid my family member that was ill, assuming, oh, they're this age, they're on their way out anyway. Also, trying to pad the bill, trying to give certain medications that weren't necessary.
Right.
To try and milk the bill, right? Because, like we talked about in the discussion with Jacqueline today, advocates, the lack of advocates.
Yes.
I had a friend of mine who was, and it also comes down to trust, right? So I had a friend of mine in the hospital system, what have you, but you know what I mean? I didn't trust them. Right. Had I trusted them a little more, this person knew more about the hospital situation, because her situation is she has family members that have to go to the doctors regularly.
Okay.
She's very familiar with the term and the logic, the linguistics of hospital terms and stuff like that.
Yeah, the terminology. Yeah.
Terminology, right? So she knew about that, but I called on her too late. Right? Had I called on her earlier, it would have been helpful, because then I could, you throw, and I did speak to her in time where I was throwing certain terminology at these doctors that shocked them and surprised them. They was wondering, how did I know about this?
Right.
To her giving me information. So I'm saying all that to say, in regards to this coronavirus, I'm hearing that they have, in addition to ICU units now, they have what's called COVID units. Right. I've also heard that the emergency room is not as empty as it used to be.
Oh, of course, yeah.
I also heard that they, in the city, as a matter of fact, they are setting up makeshift hospitals or makeshift, tents.
Yeah, Central Park. Yeah.
Because I also heard and seen that they have these 18-wheeler trucks that are cold in order to house the bodies of the dead people who have been affected with the coronavirus. 18-wheeler trucks, not one, but 2 and 3 of them. This ties into the article in of itself. I'll go on. It says, for instance, will those with intellectual disabilities be denied care? Given how this new viral threat is, it is hard to imagine that we will quickly develop a validated, objective metric to determine who would benefit from the therapy. We don't have a MELD score or COVID-19. Inevitably, physicians' judgment will come into play, and that's scary. Here's the final part that I'm going to bring to this sentence, and then bring another one in, depending on the time. The evidence for implicit biases influencing physicians' behavior is overwhelming. Implicit biases can be helpful in many respects. They're part of our instincts as physicians. We wouldn't be able to function without them. But some biases, such as racial biases or bias, can cause harm. Now, we as a minority, unlike the majority, whatever term you want to call it, I feel at the losing end of this situation. What are your thoughts on that, Kyle?
I mean, yeah, there's definitely a divide in reference of quality healthcare in our country. You know, that's been there for not just recently, but that's been there for years. And there are certain ethnic groups, depending on where they're located in the country, that have better access than others. There are even certain dynamics, even within the ethnic group, whether it be male, female, or younger or older, who have certain access to healthcare that some don't. So, you know, there's all these different dynamics. And when we talk about racial implicit biases, you know, like the quote here where it says, black people's skin is thicker than white people's skin, offer less pain medication to black people. The differential treatment of pain based on race has been confirmed repeatedly over 20 years with no sign of improvements, right? So there have been studies where certain medications react differently with people who are of African descent, black folks, than Caucasians or Asians or even Latinos. So like the studies, or the, I guess, the explicit details of that study are still kind of out and about. Like no one truly knows, for sure. Like there have been multiple studies and people are still doing studies about it, but like nothing's like drawn in the sand. Like here's what it is. Here's like the standard, and we follow this. Like they're still doing studies. But yeah, I mean, black folks and people of color in this country have not received overall the proper medical health care as others. And that's due to a lot of different factors, financial, social issues, just a different, I mean, just like what we talked about earlier, when you're raising your children, or you're coming up in a household where your breakfast is a donut, like, you know what I'm saying? Like that's your breakfast, a donut, you know? And this is not trying to like harp on people. This is just saying, like, you know, we come up in our environments, and depending on who's teaching us, where did they learn that from? Like Jacqueline's saying, where did they learn that from? And where did that person learn that from? You know, it passes down, good or bad habits, they pass down. So until you know otherwise, you do as such, like you talked about before. You know, how do you know that you don't know? Like until somebody tells you, oh no, that's not actually the right way, or there's another way you can do this that's actually better for you. You're like, oh really? Like, oh well, what is it? You know, I never heard of that. So yeah.
So it's interesting that you brought that up, and that part of this will probably be another conversation we're going to have. We're going to have a part two to this, because I had a conversation with a friend of mine the other night, as a matter of fact, where we were talking about when you said, you know, some people are doing what they're doing because they may not realize it, and then when you bring it to their attention, right. Oh, okay. But I don't want to generalize. Based on historical reference, I'll say that. And as it relates to biases, whether implicit or implicit, conscious or unconscious, it's kind of been revealed that cultures of certain hues, and I'll put it out there, you know, white people in particular, have been informed of the type of injustice that has been occurring on a certain culture of another, and I'll say black, but rejected as some kind of, I don't know if the right word is hyperbole or anything, but rejected as something that's imagined, as it were. Oh, you're over exaggerating. And I gave a specific example in our other discussions before in regards to, you know, 9/11, never forget. You know, the Holocaust, never forget. When it comes down to, you know, slavery that took place in this country, get over it. You know what I mean? That's a one keen example of how information is shared with a certain culture. Look, this is the facts. This is real. This is what happens. And the response is rejection almost immediately because it doesn't conform to what they've been trained and programmed all their lives. So that point that you're making, which is great, you know, someone might not realize that they have these issues or problems as it pertains to certain topics. And once informed that this is misinformed to them, or this isn't accurate, or this isn't the truth, and this isn't fact, they still reject it because it's not familiar to what they're comfortable with, or it's not familiar to what they've been raised to believe.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why I just wanted to, you know, address that topic in and of itself.
Mm-hmm.
So more has to be done to develop that type of conversation that can be received and respected on both sides.
Mm-hmm.
At the very least, understood. Maybe not agreed to. You know, sometimes you have the situation where you have to agree to disagree because some people's thoughts are so embedded, but to acknowledge the fact that, okay, I can admit that that's maybe something that you went through. I may not understand what you went through. I may not be able to, you know, I can't walk in your shoes physically, virtually impossible, because I can't be raised like you were raised with a mother that you were. I can't go back to being 12 or 6 or 3, you know, and experiencing life from that age. But I can at least try and think of it in terms of putting myself, looking through the lens from your perspective. How would I feel if that was done to me? So I think if that's honestly done, then, you know, we could get somewhere in the dialogue and change the dynamic. So the last part I want to bring up in this article is the very last part, with in regards to, and that's what we do here, solutions, tangibles. So we brought up COVID. We brought up how important it is to wear the mask, how important it is to wear the gloves, how important it is to breathe, use common sense when you wear the mask, wear the gloves, where, you know, the COVID virus exists, like elevator buttons and stuff like that. We're talking about the velvet rope of healthcare, implicit biases and things of that nature. So what are the action steps? What are the tangibles? COVID-19, we already gave you the COVID-19 in regards to the mask and avoiding that stuff in the gloves. Those are tangibles we just gave you. Kyle, if you feel that there are other tangibles, please feel free to interject and share more tangibles. Or if you have questions, add those questions in the comments in the live chat, or email us with any questions that you feel that we didn't answer or didn't give tangibles. So the last part of the article is simply this, in regards to implicit bias. The antidote to implicit biases is deliberate thought, right? I urge, this is an article.
Is that on which one here?
No, go further. It's like the last part.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you see, there's a lot, family.
It ends with, that's the one, right? Yeah. So there you go. So ask yourself, let me read the whole sentence. I urge healthcare providers, and this is what the writer of this article is saying, and this is action steps for us, right? So if we're in contact with doctors or know of anyone in our family that a doctor, I've been seeing on the news feed, a lot of people have friends and family who are on the front lines, right? In addition to, listen, we respect your role. Thank you so much for being on the front lines and helping cure this epidemic, or being there to help those who are afflicted with this epidemic. Thank you. But to add to that is urge those who may be in our family on the front lines, to urge them, quote unquote, healthcare providers, simply to be conscious of how a patient's race could be influencing their decisions. Ask yourself how, not if, the patient's race might be affecting you. Acknowledging that racial bias affects us all is our greatest tool to providing equitable care. So there's a tangible and an action step. You may not be on the front lines, you may not be a healthcare provider or a nurse, but you may know of those in your family or friends who are. And having this conversation could mean the life and death of a certain patient that's not based on unconscious bias or conscious bias, based on a person's ethnicity. So full circle, and all of us coming together to help put an end to this virus, make the world a better place, and come through this experience stronger. This has to be a part of the conversation. And these are the tangibles that I'm bringing to this conversation. Kyle, your thoughts?
Yeah, man, we just got to be more vigilant as far as communication, man. That's all. We got to get out of these negative stereotypes and start really talking to people who they are. D, appreciate you chiming in with us on the chat. Much appreciated for the links as well. Yeah, reality does hit the youth different. You know, we work with the youth, so it does hit them different, more so than adults. And you have some adults that act like youth and some youth that act like adults. So you have to deal with that dynamic as well. But yeah, we just got to talk more, man, and be more vigilant as far as finding out information for ourselves, despite someone's color or race, like really going to find out who that person actually is, because there are some well-meaning folks on both sides, on multiple sides, and there's some hate-filled folks on both sides as well. And not to say that those emotions aren't valid, but again, to be valid for everyone that represents that particular race or ethnicity, I don't agree with that. So we have to just be more vigilant as far as dealing with people, as individuals, like who they are, despite their race or ethnicity, and figure out if they're a friend or foe, you know, adversary or ally. So that takes time, but also takes a mindset to say, hey, let me deal with the situation as is and not project negativity.
Thank you, brother. That's all I got to say on that. If we weren't able to get to a lot of the other topics I want to talk about, we will in future discussions. In fact, Kyle and I might jump on here tomorrow, or we might jump on.
Might.
But we're gonna do our due diligence in putting out some kind of flyer to let you know, hey, we're coming together to do another live podcast. These are the topics we're talking about. So we're going to do our best to try and inform you ahead of time, so that way you can schedule it and hopefully benefit from the information that we're sharing for you. So just stay tuned for that, and we'll do a better job on that. I'm gonna do my park out, and you do yours. This is your channel, rock out. My tag, or my whatever you want to call it, to reach me on social media is Balagoon Logic, as you can see at the bottom, on Twitter and Instagram. I also have YouTube channels, Kaede Bentley on YouTube, the Perspective TV on YouTube, Talk with Pops. You hear conversation with me and those in my network. I'm doing a series with my dad. We're covering everything from relationships, history, stuff like that. I also have another channel called Candid Advisor. Candid Advisor is an advisory channel that I use to provide specific details as it relates to career development, relationships, tangible steps, following, the influence of my man Kyle right here. So I do that. And then I have Facebook, Kaede Bentley, as well. So just check out those medium forms. You'll be able to find me, reach out to me. If you want another platform, just send me an email and I'll let you know what's going on. And D, thank you so much for chiming in, putting your input in here. We really appreciate it. We hope we answered some of your questions. I see a lot of them here I wasn't able to address, but yeah, definitely. I hope we touched on the youth, blood. Matt, very good points that you're bringing up. Please join us on our other talks as well, especially Grand Rising Collective. Get on that. Check us out over there for those topics. I'm sure you got a lot of stuff you might want to add on that, brother. Do that. And I'm glad you enjoyed our chat. Sorry, Kyle, for taking so long with this. It's all yours, brother.
No, not at all, brother. No, indeed, what Brother Kaede is saying, this again allowing us to have the platform to break some of the monotony of fear-based media we've been getting for the last 2 weeks. And again, it's not to say that we shouldn't keep it in mind, but we shouldn't hold it in mind. You know what I'm saying? We shouldn't hold it in our minds, because this is what helps us to deal with reality. And if this is distorted, then our reality is distorted. And too much fear will distort reality. Too much confidence will also distort your reality as well. You got to have a balance. So hopefully we provide some type of balance for you, family. And again, as he was saying, Grand Rising Collective is a platform that we both use. We have our individual platform. He has his. I have mine. Mine is on Instagram at DIX_KYLE, which is here in the chat. Also, my Twitter, KEASY773, KEASY773, and of course this channel, Mr. Kyle Dixon. So hopefully we provide us enough good information for you all to take with you, and let's continue to build.
Thank you, sir.
Indeed. All right, family. So peace and blessings, family. Enjoy the rest of your day. Check out my videos. right? Check out Kaide's videos. We got a lot of stuff to share with you all. I'll be doing more like instructional videos as well. So will he. Since we have a lot more time to provide that for you, we will definitely provide those for you. And again, if you have any ideas, let us know. But we doing it, whether it's 1 or 1,000 or 1 million, y'all, we doing it. So definitely appreciate your time and your energy. Peace.